Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, Making Energy Efficiency Visible in the Real Estate Market. My name is Charlie Taylor. I'm a High Performance Buildings Research and Analysis Associate at Northeast Energy Efficiency Partnerships, or NEEP. I'm joined today by a couple other members of the buildings team here at NEEP. We've got Kevin Rose and Carolyn Sarno-Goldthwaite. I'm also joined by Craig Foley, who's going to be presenting today. We've just got a few people rolling in here, but I'm just going to get started on the intro. Advance energy efficiency, and one of the ways we do that is by trying to make it more visible. So we try to highlight good case studies, increasing awareness so that efficiency is really seen as the lowest cost and most environmentally friendly resource in our energy system. So this really ties in well today with the webinar that we're going to do and increasing the visibility of efficiency in the real estate market. So we're really excited to have Craig joining us. I'm going to give him a little intro. He's the Chief of Energy Solutions for RE/MAX Leading Edge, and he's also a co-founder of In Charge Energy. He joined the RE/MAX Leading Edge team in 2012 as a realtor with 12 years of experience. He's also a really great advocate for high-performance buildings in New England, and really just providing adequate energy information for potential home buyers as a means to empower their choice in the real estate market. He was the Evergreen Award winner in 2013 from the National Association of Realtors. And I'm going to turn it over to Craig. So take it away.
Great. Thanks, Charlie. It's great to have the huge number of participants that we have for this webinar today. Thanks for everybody jumping on board and listening in on this. We're going to cover some topics that I think will be of interest for everybody. We've gone through the welcome and the introductions, where most of the content is really focused on how the real estate world and the energy efficiency worlds are in the process of intersecting quite strongly right now. We're going to talk about the emerging market opportunity of those combined markets for the real estate industry out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about a concern that many real estate agents state to me. I teach a high-performance home class through the state of Massachusetts, and something that is mentioned to me fairly frequently, that energy efficiency for many real estate pros is invisible. So how am I supposed to sell that? And we'll certainly address that today. We'll hit energy efficiency contributory value in the real estate transaction and give you a couple of really great resources that real estate agents can use to make energy efficiency visible to themselves, to the appraiser, and to their clients. And we'll have some time at the end for some Q&A as well. We're going to start with a poll. Which of the following worlds do you fit under? Which best describes you? You can fill that out, click it in. Carolyn will be reviewing all of the poll numbers as they come in.
You're supposed to sing during this.
Yeah, well, no, I am not going to sing. Believe me, that would be frightening for all of you. My family will attest to that. It's good. We have a significant number of energy efficiency professionals. We've got real estate agents on the line. I'm really glad to see that there are people from the lending world, appraisers, that have joined in as well. We'll be sharing the poll results, I believe. Very good. There they are. Very good. And the other C remarks, we'll find out what those are in follow-up emails, I guess. Second poll, for those of you that are in the industry, real estate professionals, what are the hardest parts about incorporating energy efficiency characteristics into your sales process? We'd love to get some information on this from all of you out there.
Maybe Charlie wants to sing this time. Really need the music on hold.
Equally dramatic.
Yes, we're going to spare you all on the line, any of us singing at this moment in time.
Okay, so we're starting to see some poll numbers come in. A few more seconds for the real estate pros to answer this question. And the largest number is that 83% say that potential buyers don't seem to know about the opportunities that are out there for energy efficiency solutions. We can certainly help you fill that gap as we work our way through the webinar. You know, there are a certain number of you that it takes you out of your comfort zone. We'll definitely address that as we work our way through this as well. Thanks for for participating in the polls. So moving forward, let's talk about this connection between the real estate industry, the energy efficiency industry, and when we get into solar PV, even the utility industry. And what is that connection? Is it an intersection or is it a collision? I hear both viewpoints as I work my way through real estate participants throughout the state. I thought I would address both of them in kind of a point and counterpoint kind of approach with these intro slides as we work our way through the webinar. We're all aware, I think, everybody on this phone call is aware that there is an energy challenge that we need to address here in the Northeast. Homeowners are certainly stressed from escalating utility costs. The grids that move energy and fuel from one spot to another are under significant stress here in the Northeast. We have an old grid that's in need of infrastructure improvements. And our environment is clearly under significant stress as well. Now, even if we take the climate change argument out of the environmental stress factor, any way that we produce energy involves risk. Now, some ways that we produce energy involve more risk than others, but the average home here in Massachusetts uses 109 million BTUs of energy, a significant amount of energy every year to heat, light, cool the home, power all our gadgets and appliances. The first time we released an atomic weapon in warfare over the Japanese city of Hiroshima, that bomb released 60 billion BTUs of energy. So in less than 3 hours, just our homes in Massachusetts consume the same amount of energy that was released by that first atomic weapon. That doesn't include our businesses, the energy that it takes to get from our homes and businesses and back again. That's just our homes. Just the sheer amount of energy that we need to move our communities forward puts us under risk. One of the few solutions that I know of that releases stress on those three stress points, the ratepayer, the grid, and the environment, is energy efficiency. It's why it's such a big part of the solution, particularly here in Massachusetts with our legislators and here in the Northeast, because we know the cheapest kilowatt is the one that's never used. We know that reducing demand from the grid, particularly at peak load times, reduces stress from the grid. And the cleanest kilowatt is the one that's never used as well. So you know, the response I get to some of that kind of information is, yeah, Craig, I get it, I know, but we sell homes, we don't sell climate change solutions, and our job is to sell homes. That's true, there's no question about it, that's how we get paid, but we also have an obligation to serve our clients as well. And there's plenty of polling data now, we'll hit some of it a little bit later in the presentation, to support that, the fact that energy efficiency is, in fact, something that our clients seek, that they want. And on top of that, our industry has a huge opportunity to be part of that solution. We're certainly going to hit the market penetration numbers, the dollar numbers, that can indicate where that opportunity is. It's significant. We'll hit that a little bit later. But there's also a lot happening at the upper levels of the real estate trade organizations to support being part of the solution. The realization is that we need to find a way to tackle this issue head-on. I'll give you some examples of that. The Appraisal Practices Board earlier this month, on June 2nd, released a 47-page document called Valuation of Green and High Performance Property, Background and Core Competency. That was the APB's, you know, kind of best practices for green valuation of residential and commercial properties. That's a big, important document that was just rolled out. The Appraisal Institute, in March 2013, I believe, was their first release of the Appraisal Institute's Green and Residential Addendum. We'll cover that more as we get to the resources later in this program. But again, you can see how the appraisal industry is trying to tackle some of these issues in terms of the valuation, the contributory value head-on. NAR in May 2014 released the Green MLS Implementation Guide. That was a guide for the 860 MLSs throughout the United States to create a standardized set of green data fields that was also compliant with the Real Estate Standards Organization Data Dictionary. So there is no question that at the 50,000-foot level, the real estate industry is tackling these questions and tackling them head-on. I hear this comment certainly from experienced agents when I'm working with them throughout the state. You know, this green stuff kind of takes me out of my comfort zone. I certainly understand that. There's a lot to grab onto, but you know, it's not just about selling granite countertops anymore. There's a new jargon, there's new technical info, there's even new contracts with power purchase agreements that are all part of this nomenclature for high-performance homes. And not only that, as I mentioned before, energy efficiency is invisible for many real estate pros. For many people, energy efficiency is only present in its absence, as when your utility bills are lower. So today, what we're going to provide for you is some resources that can really help you make that invisible world of energy efficiency visible for you and your clients. On top of that, with the specifically in response to the green stuff taking you out of your comfort zone, we do have an obligation to our clients and to the product that we're selling. NAR's Code of Ethics, Article 11, says it pretty clearly that we have a requirement to be knowledgeable and competent in the transaction. Certainly if you're selling a green certified home or you're helping a buyer buy an energy efficient home or selling a home with solar PV on it, I think it does require an extra level of knowledge that the NAR Green Resource Council can certainly provide. Now we have CEU credits for real estate agents in Massachusetts that can help fulfill some of those obligations that we have. Next poll for the Realtors Online. How often are you asked about a home's energy consumption? poll numbers are coming in. And can we throw those up, Charlie and Carolyn? So we've got 14% never, 43% rarely, 29% often, and 14% almost always. Really interesting split among the real estate professionals out there about what they're seeing for results among their clients. Oops. We scroll that forward, Charlie. Thank you. So this is what I'm seeing here in the Northeast. Now, you all know that New England, we're the leaders of everything that's good in the world. We, have the best healthcare facilities. We have the best educational facilities, and of course, we have the New England Patriots. So we're the leaders of everything. But this is a chart where we really don't want to be the leader of. This is a change. This is information from the EIA, the Energy Information Administration, that they released on the jump in utility prices from the first half of 2013 to the first half of 2014. And you can see, unfortunately, New England is the leader here with a big jump in power prices. Now, again, this was the first half of 2013 to the first half of 2014. So this chart doesn't even include the 29 and 37% rate increases that the two largest Massachusetts utilities hit residential end users with this past winter. There's no question that the ratepayer is under a lot of stress, got a lot of media attention, and in my business with buyers that I'm working with, that is certainly a concern and a question that pops up on a very regular basis. We, going to that second frame and the opportunity to be part of the solution, this is a map from Elevate Energy in Chicago, a firm that I really have a lot of respect for. They're doing a lot of great stuff. A map from October 2013 of the 2.5 million green certified homes that are already part of the solution. Now, this is only one aspect of the marketplace. This is new construction marketplace primarily. But, some of the numbers that I just recently saw was during the time frame from 2009 to 2012, there were 1.2 million existing homes that did home remodeling jobs that involved energy efficiency upgrades during those 3 years. So that's another part of this marketplace that certainly isn't reflected in this map at this point, but we're all trying to get the big data together so we can try to get more reliable numbers on this. But there's no question that this is becoming a larger and larger marketplace and a larger opportunity for all of us out there in the industry. In terms of your clients need you and your professional obligations of knowledge and competence, here are some of examples of green certifications that are out there, energy ratings that are out there. Energy Star, as you know, for appliances has an Energy Star rating for homes. LEED, administered by the U.S. Green Building Council, has a LEED for Homes program. The National Association of Home Builders has the National Green Building Standard. Passive House has a rigorous certification. And the Department of Energy for existing homes has a home energy score. So all of these are a new type of product. They all require education for the real estate community out there. And I will say, even when we get through with this presentation, if you're uncomfortable with clients needing more information about about these kinds of issues, my information, my contact information will be available at the end, and I am open for referrals, agents out there, so don't hesitate to send them my way. Let's hit this emerging market opportunity a little bit more clearly. Again, this was the map from Elevate Energy, the 2.5 million green certified homes from October 2013. Now, that map, I'm sure, has increased since that time, partly because I'll show you what the map essentially looked like at the beginning of this millennium. It was empty, virtually empty. Energy Star for homes had started in 1995, but didn't gain huge amounts of market penetration until about 2000. ResNet, which is the third-party certifier for green certified homes through something called the HERS Index Score, was around in the 90s, but didn't become incorporated as a 501c3 until 2002. The National Green Building Standard didn't even start until 2007, and LEED for homes administered by the U.S. Green Building Council didn't even start until 2008. That's a rapidly expanding marketplace, and again, is only one aspect of the marketplace that we're talking about today. A great market opportunity for all of us. Let's talk about some of the polling, some of the interesting polling data that's out there. There's a ton of it now, and I address a lot more of this in the high-performance home class. But one of the most interesting polls that came out in January of this year was a poll by the Demand Institute. They did a poll of 10,000 homeowners and tenants, so residential building occupants. And they wanted to find out what the satisfaction gap was between those homeowners and tenants, what they had in their home already, and what they most wanted, what they didn't have in here. And the number one result of that poll, the number one need, the number one satisfaction gap piece was energy efficiency. That was the need that was most wanted by these 10,000 homeowners and tenants. That study down on the bottom is an interesting one too. University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and Institute for Market Transformation in D.C. Did a very rigorous study from 2007 to 2012. All of us in the real estate industry know that that time period was a pretty trying time for our industry. There was a real breakdown of the marketplace. They looked at 71,000 homes that were sold during that time frame, new construction homes, and compared the buyers that bought homes that were Energy Star rated versus buyers that bought new construction built to code. And what they found was that the Energy Star rated home buyer was 32% less likely to default in their mortgage during that very trying time in our industry. That's a pretty compelling number to me. And then, you know, your past buyers and your future sellers may already be exploring the incentives offered by local utilities and states to increase energy efficiency of their existing homes. If they're not, we're finding it's a great way for our team, for the RE/MAX Leading Edge team, to reach out to their past home buyers and let them know about opportunities to lower their operating costs. It's a great way to increase that past customer loyalty. Who knows? They just might remember you when you go back to sell, when they go back to sell. If you're a realtor in Massachusetts, I would certainly recommend that you go to masssave.com after this, if you haven't already. Plug in your zip code, order a no-cost home energy assessment, see what that experience is like, check out what the incentives are that the state offers for energy efficiency improvements, and then share that information with your past buyers as a way to remind them you're still thinking about them. And another, you know, certainly emerging marketplace here in Massachusetts, a really interesting, quickly evolving marketplace, is the solar PV marketplace here in Massachusetts. So in 2009, Massachusetts set a goal to reach 400 megawatts of installed solar PV in the state by 2017. And I think many people when that goal set thought, yeah, probably not. Well, by the middle of 2013, we reached that goal. We had to reset the goal to 1,600 megawatts of installed solar PV by 2020. And last time I checked the numbers, which was last month in May, we already had 841 megawatts of installed solar PV. So another excellent example of how quickly this marketplace is emerging and the market opportunity that we have out there for all of us. And not only are your buyers thinking about these issues, but Google is thinking about these issues too. And let's face it, that's what's really important. Google bought the Nest thermostat in January 2014 for a little over $3 billion for that company. The smart home market projections, at least by a company called Next Market Insights, are really, again, rapidly growing, a rapidly expanding marketplace. They're expecting that marketplace, the smart home marketplace, to grow from the $1.3 billion industry it is today to $7.8 billion by 2019, an annual growth rate of over 43%. Now, unfortunately, unlike this cartoon, energy efficient homes don't have big CFLs or LEDs coming out of their chimneys. So how is it that I sell energy efficiency for sellers that have completed energy efficiency improvements on their homes? As we have mentioned, we go back to that earlier EIA chart, there is no question that ratepayers, homeowners here in New England are feeling the pain of high operating costs on their home with their utility bills. That's just part of the reality of the situation here in New England in particular. Energy efficiency is a primary motivating factor in the home buying process here in the Northeast. When I sit down with my buyers, I ask them the question, what is it they fear about buying a home? And the operating costs of the home, the utility bills, is not an uncommon answer to that question. A home that can market potential lowering operating costs, where seeing has value in the marketplace, and that is, again, primarily due to the pain of paying last winter's utility bills. It's something everybody can feel, everybody can relate to. Also, energy upgrades can make a home healthier and safer to live in. It's a healthier and safer living environment. Heating your home with equipment like this can be dangerous to your health, your children's health. Knob and tube wiring isn't only a barrier for insulation upgrades. It was installed back when Edison was inventing electricity. It can be difficult for home buyers that are buying homes with knob and tube to get reasonable insurance premiums, or sometimes even any insurance for their home. It's worth noting also that if you go to masssave.com and go through the home energy assessment, one of the great incentives that the state offers is something called the heat loan. Heat loan is, in Massachusetts, up to $25,000 of financing for energy efficiency improvements, amortized over 7 years for 0% financing, 0% financing. And one of the things that they did this last year in January was that they added removing being able to use that funding to remove knob and tube wiring in the places where wiring would prohibit insulation upgrades. So again, another solution for you and your clients, your buyers, past the point of sale to be able to deal with some of these issues that are large issues out there and are worrying home buyers here in the Northeast. And there are certainly buyers out there now that are much more aware of their own personal environmental impact. Moving from fossil fuel generation of electricity and all the impacts that it has on the climate, the resiliency of our communities, the sustainability of our communities are issues that environmentally conscious buyers are very aware of. Making choices that lower our environmental impact are choices that many customers are prioritizing now. The opportunity to be part of the solution is something that smart buyers are tagged into, definitely. So the three primary motivations for buyers looking for high-performance homes or existing homes with high-performance characteristics. One, lower operating costs are driving consumers to this product. Two, concerns about living in an unhealthy home are real, or buying a healthier home are certainly real. And there's lots of great market indicators of that. Home Depot and Lowe's offer low or no VOC paints in that section of the store. Martha Stewart's website has a link to low VOC rugs and carpets. VOC, by the way, is volatile organic compounds. There's a blog called Mom's Clean Air for Us, which is a really great blog. And they have a link on finding furniture with low or no VOC upholstery. There are administrative bodies like the Sustainable Furnishings Council, the Forestry Stewardship Council, FSC, Certified Wood Products that Starrett Lumber here in Watertown sells. These products are gaining market penetration. And the third one is the fact that there is a growing set of buyers that are aware of their own personal environmental impact, and they're looking at solutions in their home. If you're listing a home that has a green certification, finding out what the buyer's interests are along these three selling points, I think, are really important. In an open house, when you're meeting a buyer that's coming to a home that has a green certification or has had significant energy efficiency upgrades, you can certainly tailor your message more effectively to that buyer by knowing the specific features that are solutions for some of these three common problems. Homes with energy efficiency ratings are kind of like buying cars. As U.S. consumers, you know, I'm going to have to buy a car at some point this summer. And the reality is I know nothing about cars. When I go to the dealership, I go to the side window and I look at two numbers. One is the cost of the car, and the second is the miles per gallon. Because I know that driving all over the state, all of us as real estate agents, we're driving all over the place on a daily basis. The higher the miles per gallon, the lower our operating costs. We like that. And, you know, if you have an environmental consciousness, the higher the miles per gallon also means that you're creating less environmental impact on the environment as well. It's a choice that we have as U.S. consumers for the cars that we buy. I would like to see it as a choice for U.S. consumers in the homes that they buy as well. So next poll, now this is for everybody, not just the real estate professionals. If all of you were in the process of buying your next home or your first home, which of those three energy efficiency product characteristics would you find most important? The poll is now open. Great, we're seeing lots of results. Almost 70% have voted now. Very good. You want to throw those up, Charlie? So 46%, the operating cost of the home was the biggest priority. That's not unusual if you live here in the Northeast. 36% prioritized health and safety of the built environment, and 19% felt that buying a home and their own environmental impact was their top priority. I'm going to scroll this forward, thanks. Let's hit a little bit on the contributory value in the real estate transaction of an energy efficiency improvement. Are buyers speaking with their wallets on these issues? I cover this a lot from a national perspective as well in the high performance home class, but I'm going to hit on a couple of things that are really important. There are a number of studies out there now being done by agencies all across the United States. Lawrence Berkeley National Labs is doing some incredible work on analyzing solar PV contributory value to existing homes. Just some outstanding research. firms like Elevate Energy in Chicago, Earth Advantage in Oregon, are all looking at how energy efficiency is adding to contributory value of homes in their marketplaces. One of the first things that I did when I joined the RE/MAX Leading Edge team was I wanted to find a number, find something that showed that there was a willingness of buyers to speak with their wallets to lower their operating costs of their homes. So when I joined that firm in 2012, the biggest issue that we were hearing in our offices, at that point we had, I think, 10 offices, 10 different communities, was that buyers were really hesitant about buying a home heated with oil because it costs so much. So I started to break down the data. First, I pulled the EIA data for what their projections were for the home heating season from October 2012 to March 2013 for Massachusetts homeowners. And what the EIA gave for numbers was that for the homeowner that was heating their home with oil in Massachusetts, it was going to cost them $2,553 for that heating season to heat that home. For the same customer heating their home with natural gas, it was going to cost them $1,007. So a big delta there, over $1,500 delta between those two numbers. When I looked at the 4,600 homes that were sold in 2012 in our RE/MAX Leading Edge market share areas, there were 2,500 of them that were heated with natural gas that sold in 2012, 2,100 heated with oil. What I found was a number that was surprising even to me. I thought there would be some indicator that buyers were speaking with their wallets for lower operating costs. What I found was surprising. It was an $11 per square foot price premium for the home heated with natural gas in 2012 in the RE/MAX Leading Edge market share areas. So for a 2,000 square foot home, an under average square foot home in Massachusetts, that was a $22,000 premium that homeowners were willing to spend for a home heated with natural gas versus oil in 2012. There was no question in my mind at that point that homeowners were certainly willing to, home buyers were speaking with their wallets on this issue. So some of the resources that are out there. These will be sent to you in a follow-up email, but there is a terrific resource that NEAT has made for real estate professionals. It's a checklist of home energy efficiency attributes for real estate professionals. It's a great little set of charts. What I like most about it when you receive it, it's really simple. You know, it's something that you can involve when you're touring a home, when you're listing it, when you're showing it to a buyer. But on the right-hand margin, there's a section called Worth Calling Out. Get those in your head. It's a terrific resource for real estate agents out there to be able to make the invisible visible to not only you but your clients as well. The second resource is an underutilized one in the marketplace. It's the Appraisal Institute's Residential Green and Energy Efficient Addendum. That will also be sent in the follow-up email to you. I cannot recommend strongly enough, if you have a home that has had any energy efficiency improvements, that has a green certification, that has solar PV, this document is a great document to meet the appraiser at the property with after the purchase and sales is signed. There's a section, page 2 is all about energy efficient items that have been done by the existing homeowner, including have they had an energy audit, have they had an energy assessment. If you've had a customer that has had an energy assessment through MassSave, you certainly want to have them fill this out. If you have a developer that's gone through a rigorous green certification like Energy Star or LEED, you certainly want to have them fill this out. I don't think you're fulfilling your obligation to your clients without meeting the appraiser at the property with this document filled out and signed by them. Obviously, the real estate agent doesn't sign on that. Very good. Shirley, you want to take us through the rest of this?
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks a lot, Craig. That was great. Looks like we've got about 20 minutes left for questions. We've had a few great questions come in already. We'd like to definitely encourage you guys to type any other questions you have into the chat box is the easiest way to do it. And then we're going to send those over to Craig at the end. I'd just like to give a little bit of info about an upcoming need resource that's in development at the moment. It's a renter's checklist, similar to our real estate professionals checklist, only this one is geared more towards renters as they're going through a potential unit in a multifamily building to kind of check off energy efficient characteristics. So keep an eye out for that. That'll be out soon. And then we've also listed some additional resources. Craig touched on the Mass Save program in Massachusetts. There are also some great other residential programs in the region. We've provided links on this page that we're going to send along with the follow-up email. But, you know, programs like Efficiency Vermont and National Grid's program in Rhode Island and multiple others offer really great incentives. So we'd encourage you guys to check out those websites in your respective states. So we've got one last poll for you before we go to questions. And this one is, we'd really like to know what would be the most valuable follow-up topic for a follow-up webinar. So we've got a few options here, but then we've got an other category, and we'd love for you to, you know, click other if you've got other ideas and send them along in the chat box or as an email follow-up, whatever is easiest for you. So we'll give this a few seconds. Got about half of everybody has voted so far, so we'll give it a little bit more time. Okay, so let's see what everybody thought. Share this. All right, so a pretty good mix between the first three, about 24%, deeper dive into specific energy efficiency characteristics, 29% emerging technologies and home energy systems. The highest was an overview of different home energy rating systems. Okay, so that's great. And then, yeah, if you have any other ideas, feel free to type them into the chat box. And right now I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn Sarno for the questions that we've received so far. And feel free to type them in as we're going through these, and then Craig's going to answer those. So, Carolyn.
And one of the comments that we found was a correction about the AI Green Addendum. This shows you how far ahead of the game AI has been with this. We've got some information that the AI Green Addendum was actually first released in 2010, 2011, was it, Carolyn? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the version that I have is 04. That was released, I think, in March 2013. That may be the latest one. But you can see how far ahead AI has been on this issue all the way back to 2010.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Craig and Charlie. So I'm going to go through. We do have a number of questions. Some are comments, more food for thought. You've raised a lot of great information for the attendees on the phone. The first one is just more of a disagreement with you that one of our participants feels the 49ers are the leader, but I responded with the number 4. The number 4. Next up, so one of the questions came back is that somebody, and I think this is a great point, thinks that we should add into these poll questions that we have no way of making energy efficiency features obvious in their listings, which I think ties back into a few other comments that we have in here and some of the policy drivers, but then also the opportunity of using the real estate checklist that we had released that you had worked with us on. Right. So your thoughts on that?
Well, that's a great point. So let's go back to how we input that data to our customers, which is through our local multiple listing service. We're very fortunate here in Massachusetts. The predominant listing service is a firm called MLS PIN, Property Information Network. They were an early adopter of green fields back in 2009, and they just did a big upgrade of the green data fields in MLS PIN that just finished in April of this year. We think it may be the largest upgrade of a green data field database for an MLS in the U.S. That upgrade included the HERS index score, but there are a number of places in MLS PIN you have opportunities to talk about energy efficiency upgrades in the data input that you put in as a listing. Not all MLSs fit into that category, however. Only about 20% of the 860 MLSs across the United States have any green data fields. That is something that I know NEEP is working on, many of us on a national level are working on, and that was what the primary focus of the MLS Green Implementation Guide was, to create a standardized set of data fields for energy efficiency improvements that home buyers, home sellers can see. We have to do more education for the listing agent to know how to access those and input those, but I think, you know, the checklist that NEEP provides is a great resource for that, and I think you will see that there is some opportunities in MLS 10 anyway to be able to upload those into your listings.
Great. On one of your first slides that you had shown, you had listed 3 key documents. Could you provide links, which I think what we'll do is we can send those out in addition to the information, the link to the green addendum as well as the NEEP checklist. So we will make sure to include links to not only the recording of this webinar, but any of the information that Craig has mentioned. The next question is more also of a comment, or more to get your thoughts on this, which is that this person feels it's important for the building industry to delineate between green homes and energy efficient homes. Mm-hmm. These are really 2 different definitions, and when homes are being marketed, we'd be more credible if we didn't misuse the terms. And I know it's something you know, for NEEP for us, and I think in the commercial sector, we have long kind of struggled to try to delineate between what we actually call high performance buildings, which are buildings that are energy efficient, and green. But they really are kind of 2 different things. So what is your... They
are. There's no question about it. And in fact, the AI Green Addendum gives a very clear definition of the difference between the 2 of them. But the easiest way to take a look at this is if it has a green certification, if it's been third-party certified through Energy Star, through LEED, through the National Green Building Standard, through Passive House. That's one clear way that we can delineate between the 2. In Massachusetts, we have a more rigorous stretch code that's something I think it's 146 communities have adopted, called the stretch code, a more rigorous energy code. And the requirement in those communities is to get a HERS index score for that new construction or that big upgrade of an existing home. So when the HERS index score is delivered, there is a number that is now being filled in, I'm really pleased to see, in MLS PIN on a regular basis, that gives an indication of the energy efficiency of the home, whether or not it's gone through a green certification process. But I think the comment is exactly right. You know, this has all been this green movement. I don't use the word green, by the way, in my marketing because it's not clearly defined what green is. But there's certainly a movement now to not only include high-performance home characteristics in existing buildings, whether they're commercial or residential, or constructing a complete high-performance home or commercial building. So there is a lot of delineation here that we're all trying to figure out. There are appropriate ways to market all of these things.
Great. A bunch more questions that have come in. Another one is on the PV tool that you mentioned, which we'll be sure to include the link that you referenced on that one. And then you had mentioned, which I thought was really staggering to hear, the fact of thinking about that what was it? It's $22,000 that homeowners are willing to spend, $22K on gas versus an oil home. And so one of the respondents had a question: is it just possible that natural gas, if those are just in newer homes, you know, compared to ones that have oil, and maybe that's why they're selling for a higher price because they're newer?
That's a great question. I mean, in our market share areas, with the study that I did try to delineate and use comps for, and part of the comps that I looked at was the age of the building as well. So I tried to remove that as a category. And here in the Northeast, in our market share areas, it is true that, you know, there is probably a slight difference between a home heated with oil versus natural gas, but it's not as significant as other parts of the country, certainly.
Great. And in terms of demographics, are you seeing age of buyers kind of come into question? Are younger buyers versus older buyers, are you seeing that actually come into play between who is looking for energy efficient homes or attributes?
You know, I think it's on the two ends of the spectrum. There's no question that millennial buyers are thinking about this and are concerned about their own environmental impact, but home buyers that are looking to move down in the amount of space that they own are very interested in getting lower operating costs of their home, partly because they've felt the pain of that. So I'm seeing it personally in my business in two different sets of buyers. The buyers that are getting their kids into college and looking to move down, and the younger buyers that have a different economic and environmental awareness.
Great. So I'm going to kind of merge a comment and a question that had come in previous to this, where someone had noted, just to kind of talk about, so again, even though NEEP region is the 12th state, we did invite our other Rio counterparts across the country, and so we have a number of folks that are across the country that are listening in this morning. And someone mentioned about how Chicago had recently passed a disclosure ordinance, and what they have been seeing is it's really been shown to be effective, and that properties opt in and disclose utility bills sell 2 weeks faster and for 3% more money than those that actually opt out of this. So with that, we have another attendee who's asked the question of what is your view on the Senate bill currently proposed in Massachusetts that would actually require something similar for time of sale, and what really would be the impact to ratepayers given that they're already paying for the Mass Save program?
Right.
So what is your thought on that?
That's a great question. The great thing about the Chicago MLS is they only have natural gas as the primary source of heat and electricity. There's no oil-fired homes out there. So for them to implement that as an auto pop into their MLS was a great opportunity for them to do, and as Carolyn said, we're seeing a market reaction to that, most certainly. But it would be a little bit more difficult to do here in the Northeast the way that the Chicago MLS did, partly because, you know, 8% of homes heated nationally are oil-fired or are heated by oil, but 80% of those 8% are here in the Northeast. So uploading the heating oil bills, we don't have the same ability to do that. It'd be a little bit tougher here. Senate Bill 1761, I think, is the bill that someone was referring to, Senator Downing's bill. I personally, you know, there are elements of that bill that are going to make our lives more complicated as realtors if it passes. For me personally, this is my own personal viewpoint. It certainly isn't the Massachusetts Association of Realtors viewpoint. It's not RE/MAX Leading Edge's viewpoint. It's Craig Foley's viewpoint that I think that bill will help the marketplace. It will move the marketplace forward. And next Tuesday, I'll be there testifying on behalf of that bill for the hearing at the Telecommunications Utility and Energy Committee.
Great, and we are also supportive as well. Another question, or just more thought on that's come in, is how do you really get appraisers to consider using the residential energy addendum? In this one particular area, they really have a bunch of appraisers who just don't know what to do with it. So how do you engage the appraisers in the transaction?
That's a great question. I would like to note, if you look at AI's website now, that there are actually 6 green certified appraisers in Massachusetts. Yay, big shout out for AI. I love to see that. Up until the beginning of this year, there were exactly 0. So that question is a great question. When you get if you're the listing agent, after the purchase and sales, you get a call 2 or 3 days after the purchase and sales has been signed by the appraiser. Hey, Craig, can I meet you at the property Wednesday at 2 so I can take a look inside and outside the property to do the appraisal report? That's a great time to mention the fact that you have had a home with energy efficiency improvements, or you have a green certified home, and to at least begin that discussion and mention to them that you're going to show up because you know that they were going to ask you for it with the AI green addendum all filled out. That's a great way to start that conversation. The appraisers also have a knowledge and competence requirement for the performance of their appraisals as well. And on top of that, they have an additional obligation to not be biased in their appraisal. So those are all elements that if you're not feeling confident with the appraiser is going to be able to take a look at these. And now it's tricky business, particularly for energy efficiency here in the Northeast. You're going to have to do the legwork as the listing broker to make sure that there are comps. You're going to have to do a pretty rigorous look to find comps that support those energy efficiency improvements and where there have been specific sales that you can establish contributory value with it. With solar PV, I think it's going to be a little bit easier, but we all have to get the process started in the transaction. You, me, all the listing agents out there, all the appraisers out there, the more we bring the AI green addendum to the meeting with the appraiser, the more this gets integrated into the process, the more it gets uploaded into MLS PIN, the better off we're all going to be to move this market transformation forward.
Great. So we have we're closing up on time, but we still have a few more questions that have been entered and a lot of great suggestions for future webinars as well, which is fantastic. So I'll actually stop there for one small plug, which is one question for you, Craig, which is where will you be on October 29th? I know where you'll be.
I know where you'll be. Yes, I do. Yeah, I'll be. So this is really exciting. Vermont and New Hampshire are putting together a high-performance home green forums for real estate market participants in Lake Shore Resort in Vermont. And I'll be teaching the high-performance home class that we got passed by the Massachusetts Real Estate Board in July, which has now reached over 600 real estate agents in the state since that time. But we also believe now it will be passed for New Hampshire and Vermont CEU credits. So I'll be up there teaching that class a couple of times for this great seminar and forum that's going on.
Great, and I know that Efficiency Vermont is spearheading that through the Vermont Green Building Network, I believe.
Yeah.
So we will make sure to also kind of send a link to that information for that great event that will be happening. So at least so now you know where you will be. One of the other questions that, and we certainly encourage others to be part of that that day as well. Another question is more on solar. Are you seeing that customers are willing to pay significantly more for rooftop solar?
So we don't have data yet in Massachusetts to firmly be able to give you a clear answer to that question. There's no question that if you look at some of the studies that Lawrence Berkeley National Labs has done in California, where that market is a more mature marketplace, they released a study in, I think it was maybe early 2014, late 2013, that said for each kilowatt of installed solar PV on an existing home for California buyers, it had value of $5,199, if I remember correctly. In Massachusetts now, the installed price of solar for residential PV, solar PV, is maybe in the $4 to $4.50 per watt area, so $4,000 to $4,500 per kilowatt. If that California number were to be true here in Massachusetts, it would be one of the few home improvements that shows increasing value on the home. We all know that, you know, if we put in a $100,000 kitchen, the first time we turn on the oven to cook our first meal, the value drops down to $85,000 almost immediately. So I think we are certainly going to see that for homeowners that own the system, we're going to see contributory value to that here in Massachusetts. We're in the process of looking for that. But one important consideration with this particular subject is if you're leasing the solar PV unit. If you're a homeowner but you're leasing the system from a third-party vendor, the FHA just gave their guidance on December 16th that in the secondary mortgage market, underwriters can't accept any additional value for leased solar PV on a home. So only if it's owned.
Great. I'm just doing a quick scan. We are at 11 o'clock. And as I said, we did get a number of great suggestions for future webinars, a few other additional comments that have come in about the addendum making no improvements to their 2013, which is an unfortunate AI.
Yep.
Made no improvements to the 2013 addendum, which some feel was a missed opportunity. And then we've got a bunch of other little feedback of what we can do is to be able to capture this when we send out the slides and the recording and notes. But there are a lot of great suggestions in here, in particular on terminology used. Using high-performance homes doesn't really resonate with customers. So I think what we'll do is kind of catalog some of these items and add them into another survey back to the stakeholders so that we can look at planning future webinars, or perhaps this will also help inform the event on October 29th.
Sounds good.
I
disagree with that high-performance homes doesn't resonate with home buyers, actually.
There you go. You get the last word on that.
I'm on the mic.
Yes, you're on the mic, and you would know better than I know. That's what I would look for, but that's I think sometimes it depends on where you're coming from. So so this has been fantastic. We really appreciate your time coming here today, and Charlie as well for presenting on the resources, and we will be sure to post this to the NEAP website and to be able to follow up with everything that was mentioned. In addition, please stay tuned for future webinars on these very topics. So thank you, everybody.
And my contact information is on there, as well as all of us are, so if you have additional comments, questions, I'd love to hear from you. And if you're a realtor that's looking to give referrals, I'm always open to that.
Yeah, or if you're looking to buy, you're always looking for clients. Thank you, everyone.